בפברואר 91, אל אקסקליבר מאת אגף הרכישות הפדרלי IBM. הנדון כרטיס בדיקה למערכות מוטסות. הכרטיס נועד לשימוש מיידי במבצע סופה במדבר. הצורך בו קריטי. אנא בצעו את המשלוח בדחיפות עליונה. 10 בפברואר 91, אל אגף הרכישות מאת אקסקליבר ירושלים. הזמנתכם נרשמה ותבוצע בהקדם האפשרי בתנאים המוסכמים בינינו. בהצלחה במבצע.
Heavy bombing this evening, starting about an hour or so after Baghdad radio reported the new Iraqi position on the United Nations resolutions. The sky across the whole horizon outside the hotel was lit up with anti-aircraft fire, including explosions in the sky and on the ground. The explosion shook the Al Rashid Hotel where we live, but we don't know yet what the targets were. It was the 42nd night of bombing of Baghdad. 42 nights ago, the bombing did begin. A note on the war situation that we have learned, we're informed by reliable sources that U.S. paratroopers may be as close as 100 miles from Baghdad, that is to the south. We've been told American troops have been seen in the Al-Ship K area near the holy city of Naga.
Here is a color coding where green is a go sign or a good sign as far as our forces are concerned. Yellow would be a caution sign, and red would be a stop sign. Green represents units that have been attrited below 50% strength. The yellow are units that are between 50 and 75% strength, and of course the red are units that are over 75% strength. What we did, of course, was start an extensive air campaign, and I briefed you in quite some detail on that in the past. One of the purposes I told you at that time of that extensive air campaign was to isolate the Kuwaiti theater of operation by taking out all the bridges and supply lines that ran between the north and the southern part of Iraq. That operations out in the sea because we wanted the Iraqis to continue to believe that we were going to conduct a massive amphibious operation in this area. And I think many of you recall the number of amphibious rehearsals we had to include Imminent Thunder that was written about quite extensively. For many reasons, but we continued to have those operations because we wanted him to concentrate his forces, which he did. I think this is probably one of the most important parts of the entire briefing I could talk about. As you know, very early on, we took out the Iraqi Air Force. We knew that he had very, very limited reconnaissance means, and therefore when we took out his Air Force, for all intents and purposes, we took out his ability to see what we were doing down here in Saudi Arabia. Once we had taken out his eyes, we did what could best be described as the Hail Mary play in football. I think you recall when the quarterback is desperate for a touchdown at the very end, what he does is he steps up behind the center, and all of a sudden every single one of his receivers goes way out to one flank, and they all run down the field as fast as they possibly can and into the end zone, and he lobs the ball. In essence, that's what we did. When we knew that he couldn't see us anymore, we did a massive movement of troops all the way out to the west, to the extreme west, because at that time we knew that he was still fixed in this area with the vast majority of his forces, and once the air campaign started, he would be incapable of moving out to counter this move, even if he knew we made it. There were some addition of troops out in this area, but they did not have the capability nor the time to put in the barrier that had been described by Saddam Hussein as an absolutely impenetrable tank barrier that no one would ever get through. I believe those were his words. This was a situation on the 23rd of February. Next, please. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. I shouldn't forget these fellows. That SF stands for Special Forces. We put Special Forces deep into the enemy territory. They went out on strategic reconnaissance for us, and they let us know what was going on out there, and they were the eyes that were out there, and very important that I not forget those folks. Next, please. Say enough about the two Marine divisions. If I use words like brilliant, it would really be an under-description of the absolutely superb job that they did in breaching the so-called impenetrable barrier. It was a classic, absolutely classic military breaching of a very, very tough minefield, barbed wire, fire trenches type barrier. They went through the first barrier like it was water. They went across into the second barrier line. Even though they were under artillery fire at the time, they continued to open up that breach, and then they brought both divisions streaming through that breach. Absolutely superb operation, a textbook, and I think it'll be studied for many, many years to come as the way to do it. Who are still saying that the object of the United States of America was to capture Iraq and cause a downfall of the entire country of Iraq. Ladies and gentlemen, when we were here, we were 150 miles away from Baghdad, and there was nobody between us and Baghdad. If it had taken Iraq, if it had been our intention to destroy the country, if it had been our intention to overrun the country, we could have done it unopposed for all intents and purposes from this position at that time. But that was not our intention. We had never said it was our intention. Our intention was purely to eject the Iraqis out of Kuwait and destroy the military power that had come in here.
So political explanation as to why the Iraqis did not use chemical weapons.
You want me to speculate? I'll be delighted to speculate. Nobody can ever pin you down when you speculate. Number one, we destroyed their artillery. We went after their artillery big time. They had major desertions in their artillery, and the artillery that would have been, and that's how they would have delivered their chemical weapons, either that or by air, and we all know what happened to the air. So we went after their artillery big time, and I think we were probably highly, highly effective in going after their artillery. Who are speculating that the reason why they didn't use chemical weapons is because they were afraid that if they used chemical weapons, there would be nuclear retaliation. There's other people that speculate that they didn't use their chemical weapons because their chemical weapons degraded, and because of the damage that we did to their chemical production facilities, they were unable to upgrade the chemicals within their weapons as a result of that degradation. That was one of the reasons, among others, why we went after their chemical production facilities early on in the strategic campaign. That question, but as I say, thank God that they didn't. All the way back in the back.
What are your impressions of Saddam Hussein as a military strategist?
As far as Saddam Hussein being a great military strategist, he is neither a strategist, nor is he schooled in the operational arts, nor is he a tactician, nor is he a general, nor is he as a soldier. Other than that, he's a great military man. I want you to know that.
עדיין יורים, והחיילים האמריקנים יורים בחזרה. אלה הם פרפוריה האחרונים של המלחמה.
Witnesses to the carnage that has dominated life in Kuwait since Saddam Hussein decided this country should be his.
סליחה שהפסקנו את הסרט באמצע הריצה שלו המקובלת, אבל אנחנו מיד רוצים לעבור אל הבית הלבן, אל החדר הסגלגל, אל הנשיא בוש.
Iraq's army is defeated. Our military objectives are met. Victory for the United Nations, for all mankind, for the rule of law, and for what is right. After consulting with Secretary of Defense Cheney, the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Powell, and our coalition partners, I am pleased to announce that at midnight tonight, Eastern Standard Time, exactly 100 hours since ground operations commenced and 6 weeks since the start of Operation Desert Storm, all United States and coalition forces will suspend offensive combat operations.
Who said that? President Bush. It's on the radio? No, man, in 2 hours it's over. In 2 hours, it's over. Yeah! Isn't peace wonderful?
It's great.